The walls are closing in on Keir Starmer. Right now, at this very moment, Westminster is erupting into absolute chaos as MPs from across the political spectrum unite to launch a no-confidence vote that could end his career. What started as quiet whispers behind closed doors has exploded into a full-scale rebellion. His Brexit betrayal has finally caught up with him, and tonight the Labour leader is fighting for his political survival. The question burning through Parliament is no longer if he can lead, but whether he will survive the next 24 hours. This is the moment everything changes. This is the moment Starmer's grip on power shatters completely. The storm has been brewing for weeks, but today it reached its breaking point. Furious MPs have finally united to trigger a no-confidence vote against Keir Starmer, and the move is nothing short of extraordinary. Members from both Labour and the opposition benches have joined forces, declaring that Starmer's handling of Brexit has crossed a line that cannot be forgiven. His decision to push through a secretive EU deal, one that critics say shreds the very promises of Brexit, was the spark that ignited this rebellion. To many MPs, it was not just a misjudgment, but a betrayal of the millions who voted to reclaim British sovereignty. This betrayal has turned into a political inferno that now threatens to consume his leadership entirely. The no-confidence vote represents more than just anger over policy. It is a direct challenge to Starmer's authority, a declaration that he no longer commands the respect or trust needed to lead. Insiders reveal that senior Labour figures have been plotting this move for days, with backroom conversations filled with accusations of deceit and betrayal. Starmer's pledge to respect Brexit now lies in ruins, replaced with a deal that hands back powers over fishing, food standards and judicial oversight to Brussels. It is a deal that has enraged not just Conservative Brexiteers, but Labour MPs representing heartland constituencies who feel abandoned and misled. As one furious MP reportedly said behind closed doors, this is not leadership, this is surrender. The words echo through Westminster like a death sentence for Starmer's credibility. The fallout inside Parliament has been explosive beyond measure. Witnesses describe the atmosphere as toxic, with shouting matches erupting in committee rooms and heated confrontations spilling into corridors. Starmer himself is said to have lashed out at colleagues, accusing them of treachery and threatening reprisals against dissenters. But the rebellion has grown too large to contain, too powerful to silence. The cross-party alliance behind the no-confidence motion is determined to see him weakened, if not removed entirely, and the sheer momentum of their challenge suggests that his position may already be beyond saving. Every hour brings fresh declarations of defection, new statements of outrage, and new warnings that Labour's future hangs in the balance. The symbolism of this rebellion cannot be overstated. A no-confidence vote is one of the most dramatic tools in parliamentary politics, and its very launch signals the collapse of trust in Starmer's leadership. Even if he survives the vote, the damage is irreparable. His authority has been shredded, his credibility shattered, and his reputation as a steady hand at the helm is crumbling before the nation's eyes. The man who once promised stability and unity has become the architect of chaos and division. Each passing moment reveals new cracks in his coalition, new betrayals from those he thought loyal, and new evidence that his grip on power is slipping away like sand through desperate fingers. Beyond Parliament, the public's anger is boiling over with terrifying intensity. In coastal towns like Grimsby and Hull, where fishing communities had long hoped for Brexit to deliver renewal, the betrayal has struck a deep nerve. Starmer's deal, which effectively extends EU fishing rights until 2038, has been condemned as nothing less than a sellout of epic proportions. Protesters are mobilising, banners are being raised, and chants of betrayal echo across social media platforms. These are not isolated grievances confined to Westminster bubble politics. They are signs of a broader rupture between the political class and the very people they vow to represent. The anger is raw, visceral, and spreading like wildfire through communities that feel betrayed not just by Brexit promises, but by the entire political establishment. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage and Reform UK are seizing the opportunity with ruthless efficiency. Farage has branded Starmer the greatest Brexit betrayer of them all, while Reform's surging poll numbers reflect a growing hunger for alternatives to the mainstream parties. Every moment of this chaos strengthens their hand and weakens Starmer's grip on traditional Labour strongholds. It is no exaggeration to say that this no-confidence vote could mark the beginning of a seismic shift in British politics, where Labour's traditional base abandons the party in droves, reshaping the electoral map for years to come. The consequences stretch far beyond one man's career. They threaten to redefine the entire political landscape of Britain. For Starmer, the clock is ticking with merciless precision. His inner circle scrambles to rally support, making frantic phone calls and desperate appeals for loyalty. But whispers of defections are spreading faster than they can be contained, infecting every corner of Westminster with doubt and fear. Some MPs, terrified of losing their seats in the next election, are already openly aligning with the rebellion, calculating that their survival depends on distancing themselves from a sinking leader. The mood is one of panic, desperation and collapse. Aides speak in hushed tones about contingency plans and succession scenarios. The once confident leadership team now resembles a bunker mentality, surrounded on all sides by enemies both within and without. As the no-confidence vote edges closer, one thing becomes painfully clear. Starmer is now fighting not just for his leadership, but for his political survival. The rebellion has exposed the fragility of his authority, the hollowness of his promises, and the depth of betrayal felt by those who once believed in him. Whether he survives or falls, his legacy is already tarnished beyond repair. The question is no longer whether he can lead effectively, but whether he can cling to power long enough to avoid complete humiliation. The storm is here, the walls are closing in, and there is nowhere left to hide. The rebellion against Keir Starmer has grown into a tidal wave, sweeping through Westminster with unstoppable force and leaving his leadership in tatters. What began as murmurs of discontent has escalated into a full-blown crisis that now threatens to topple the Labour leader entirely. Behind the grandeur of Parliament's ancient walls, tensions are boiling, and every conversation, every whispered exchange, carries the weight of betrayal and fear. Senior Labour MPs, once loyal to Starmer, now speak openly of his downfall, calling his leadership irreparably damaged and his Brexit strategy an unforgivable mistake. Even some of his closest allies are rumoured to be wavering, quietly calculating their own survival as the no-confidence vote draws near. The spectacle is unlike anything seen in years. A political implosion unfolding in real time before the nation's horrified gaze. At the heart of this rebellion lies the controversial Brexit deal Starmer pushed through with stunning secrecy. Marketed as a reset in UK-EU relations, it has been exposed as nothing short of a capitulation to Brussels. The fine print reveals concession after concession. Fishing rights extended deep into the future, EU judicial oversight reintroduced through the European Court of Justice, youth mobility schemes reinstating the ghost of free movement, and alignment with EU defence strategies that critics say threaten Britain's independence on the world stage. To Brexit voters, these terms represent a betrayal of everything the referendum promised. To Starmer's critics, they are proof of a leader willing to sacrifice sovereignty for short-term political optics. The deal is not just unpopular, it is radioactive, poisoning everything it touches. Inside Labour, the anger is visceral and impossible to contain. MPs from the party's traditional strongholds in the north and coastal communities have been particularly vocal, accusing Starmer of selling out the very voters who handed Labour a path back to relevance after years of decline. Fishing communities that once placed their hopes in Brexit as a path to revival now see themselves betrayed again. Their livelihoods bartered away in a deal struck behind closed doors without consultation or consent. In places like Hartlepool, Sunderland and Hull, the fury is palpable, with local Labour branches threatening open revolt unless the leadership changes course immediately. The sense of betrayal is not confined to policy debates. It is deeply personal, with grassroots members calling Starmer a man who promised one thing and delivered the opposite, a politician who spoke the language of integrity while practicing the art of deception. The party's internal unity, already fragile after years of factional warfare, is cracking apart under the strain. The coalition that brought Starmer to power is disintegrating before his eyes. Left-wing members who never fully trusted him now see their suspicions confirmed. Centrist pragmatists who backed him for electability now question whether he has the political instincts to win. Brexit supporting Labour MPs from Leave constituencies feel abandoned and betrayed. The different factions that Starmer once promised to unite are now at war with each other, and he stands in the middle, powerless to stop the bloodshed. The party that was supposed to be election ready is instead tearing itself apart in public, offering voters the spectacle of chaos rather than the promise of governance. The opposition, meanwhile, has smelled blood and wasted no time in exploiting the chaos with predatory efficiency. Conservative MPs, still reeling from their own internal divisions, have found rare unity in condemning Starmer's leadership. Former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, breaking his silence, has called the deal a catastrophic surrender, framing it as the death of Brexit itself. Tory MPs have mocked Labour as a party of betrayal while quietly enjoying the spectacle of their rivals in freefall. But it is Nigel Farage and Reform UK who stand to gain the most from this political carnage. Farage has launched a relentless media blitz, hammering Starmer at every opportunity and presenting Reform as the only true guardian of Brexit and British sovereignty. His message is simple but devastatingly effective. Starmer lied. Labour betrayed you. And only Reform can be trusted to deliver what Brexit promised. With each passing day, Reform's support swells dramatically, posing a mortal threat to Labour in the very constituencies it cannot afford to lose. The political map is being redrawn in real time, with traditional Labour heartlands now up for grabs. The party that once dominated working-class communities across the North and Midlands is watching helplessly as its voters drift toward a rival that speaks their language and shares their anger. This is not just a bad news cycle. This is an existential crisis for the Labour Party itself. The atmosphere in Parliament is one of hysteria and disbelief. Journalists crowd the corridors, cameras rolling as MPs dart in and out of secret meetings, their faces etched with tension and fear. Rumours swirl of last-minute plots, potential leadership challenges and backroom deals to force Starmer out before the no-confidence vote even takes place. Names like Angela Rayner and Wes Streeting are whispered as possible successors. But no one dares move too quickly, fearing the wrath of a wounded leader who still clings desperately to power. The paralysis is palpable. Everyone knows something must change, but no one wants to be the first to strike, the first to be blamed for destroying the party's unity completely. Insiders describe Starmer as increasingly volatile, a man under siege who lashes out at aides and rails against the cowards in his party. His once calm demeanour has cracked, replaced by visible frustration and desperation. The man who once promised steady hands now appears to be unravelling before the nation's eyes. Behind closed doors, he reportedly alternates between defiance and despair, insisting one moment that he will survive and the next questioning whether it is even worth fighting anymore. The psychological toll of the rebellion is written across his face in every public appearance. The confident prosecutor who once commanded courtrooms now looks like a defendant facing an inevitable guilty verdict. Outside Parliament, the fury is spreading like wildfire through communities across Britain. Protests are being planned across the country, with fishing communities, Brexit strongholds, and even disillusioned Labour supporters preparing to take to the streets. In places like Grimsby and Plymouth, banners are already being raised, accusing Starmer of betrayal and demanding his immediate resignation. The anger is not confined to older Brexit voters clinging to referendum promises. Younger activists, two votes too, are voicing frustration, accusing Starmer of dishonesty and lack of principle. They see a leader who campaigned on integrity but governs through backroom deals and broken promises. Social media is ablaze with outrage. Hashtags calling for betrayal and resignation trending as citizens vent their fury in real time. The crisis has spilled far beyond the confines of Westminster's bubble. It is now a national reckoning, a moment where the relationship between politicians and the public stands exposed as broken and dysfunctional. For Britain, the stakes could not be higher. The timing of this crisis, with the economy fragile and public trust in politics at historic lows, makes the fallout all the more dangerous. Businesses are left in limbo, uncertain of what Starmer's deal means for trade and investment. International allies watch nervously, questioning Britain's stability and credibility on the world stage. At home, ordinary people feel abandoned, betrayed by leaders they trusted to deliver on the most important democratic decision in a generation. The no-confidence vote may be a parliamentary procedure, but its implications extend far beyond Westminster's walls. It has become a battle for Britain's political soul, a test of whether democracy can survive when leaders break their promises with such brazen contempt. The storm now intensifies as the consequences of this no-confidence vote spread beyond the walls of Westminster like a contagion. What began as whispers of rebellion within Labour has now transformed into an all-out assault on Starmer's authority, shaking not only his leadership but the very stability of his government. The country watches in disbelief as reports reveal that dozens of Labour MPs, once loyal foot soldiers, are now openly questioning whether Starmer has the credibility to continue. They accuse him of misleading the public, betraying Brexit promises and allowing internal divisions to fester unchecked like an infected wound. The Labour Party, which Starmer once claimed to have united under his vision, is now splitting at the seams, with rival factions using this vote as their ultimate weapon to settle old scores and advance competing agendas. What makes the situation more chilling is the timing of this political earthquake. With economic pressures mounting, inflation squeezing families, and Britain facing serious challenges at home and abroad, the spectacle of Labour tearing itself apart leaves the nation teetering on the edge of paralysis. Critical decisions are being delayed, policy initiatives are frozen, the machinery of government grinds slowly as ministers and MPs focus not on serving the country but on political survival. For Starmer, the no-confidence vote is not merely a procedural challenge or a bump in the road. It is an existential threat to his leadership, a moment that will define whether he has any future in politics at all. His opponents within the party are framing this as a moral reckoning, claiming the leader has failed to live up to his promises of honesty, accountability, and unity. The words he once used to win power are now being weaponised against him with devastating effects. Some MPs have even compared the unfolding events to the downfall of past Labour leaders who were consumed by their own parties. Internal wars, the ghosts of previous civil wars, haunt Westminster's corridors. The media has seized on the drama with gleeful intensity, broadcasting every defection, every resignation, every outburst in Parliament, turning this political implosion into a public spectacle that dominates every news cycle. Newspapers splash headlines declaring Labour in civil war and Starmer's days numbered, while commentators question whether the Prime Minister can possibly recover from this humiliation. The 24-hour news cycle feeds on the chaos, amplifying every rumour and magnifying every crack in Starmer's armour. For the first time, cracks in Starmer's calm facade are beginning to show publicly. His critics describe him as a leader cornered, fighting desperately for survival like a wounded animal with nowhere left to run. Meanwhile, rival parties smell blood in the water and circle with predatory intent. The Conservatives, battered by their own scandals in recent years, see this as a rare opportunity to regroup and present themselves as a stable alternative to Labour's chaos. They position themselves as the adults in the room, while Labour tears itself apart. Reform UK, which has already been gaining frightening momentum, is using this chaos as proof that both Labour and the Conservatives have failed the nation completely. Nigel Farage and Richard Tice are wasting no time in weaponising this vote, declaring that it shows how broken the establishment truly is, while urging voters to turn to them for real change and authentic representation. Their message resonates with millions who feel betrayed by mainstream politics. The Liberal Democrats, too, are quietly positioning themselves to exploit the collapse of trust in Labour, targeting seats in constituencies where Labour voters feel abandoned. This creates a dangerous cocktail of political uncertainty where every party is scrambling to claim the moral high ground, while Britain itself drifts into deeper instability. The opposition isn't just criticising Starmer, they are building the foundations of their next campaigns on the rubble of his collapsing leadership. The ripple effects of this no-confidence vote are also being felt internationally, adding another layer of crisis to the domestic turmoil. European leaders who had only recently begun warming up to Starmer after years of Brexit disputes are now questioning whether his government has the strength to maintain steady relations. Foreign media outlets describe Britain as a nation in leadership chaos, raising doubts about its ability to navigate global challenges effectively. Investors are nervous, markets are shaky, and allies are cautious about committing to agreements with a government that might not survive the month. The world is watching Britain with concern and growing alarm, wondering if its government will collapse entirely and trigger yet another general election that plunges the country into prolonged uncertainty. The image of Britain as a stable democracy, a beacon of parliamentary tradition and political continuity, is now under severe strain as its leaders wage war against one another while urgent national problems remain unresolved. Questions about Britain's reliability as a partner and its capacity for effective governance are being asked in capitals around the world. Inside Westminster, the mood is feverish and conspiratorial. Leaked conversations reveal that backbench MPs are plotting in late-night meetings, drafting letters and rallying support against Starmer with the intensity of military strategists planning a coup. Some demand immediate leadership elections within the Labour Party to install a new leader who can restore credibility. Others push for Starmer to call a general election to let the people decide, gambling that a fresh mandate might break the deadlock. Starmer's allies are scrambling to contain the rebellion, urging patience and loyalty, making promises they may not be able to keep. But the momentum of dissent seems unstoppable, a force of nature that cannot be reasoned with or negotiated away. What was once a manageable wave of criticism has now become a tidal force, threatening to sweep away his entire leadership and everyone associated with it. Even senior cabinet members are reported to be wavering in their support, calculating whether remaining loyal to Starmer will destroy their own political futures. The rats are preparing to abandon the sinking ship, and everyone knows it. As these dramatic developments unfold, minute by minute, Britain stands at a crossroads, unlike any it has faced in recent memory. Will Starmer somehow rally enough support to survive the no-confidence vote and cling to power? Or will his leadership collapse under the crushing weight of rebellion from within his own party, ending his career in ignominious defeat? The stakes could not be higher because the outcome of this battle will determine not just the future of Keir Starmer, but the direction of Britain itself for years to come. The suspense is unbearable, the uncertainty growing with every passing hour, like a slow-motion disaster. All eyes now turn to the vote itself, a moment that could either mark the unlikely rebirth of Starmer's leadership or its complete and total annihilation. The nation holds its breath. The political class watches with morbid fascination, and somewhere in the depths of Westminster, Keir Starmer prepares for the fight of his life, knowing that by this time tomorrow, everything could be over. The hour of reckoning has arrived, and the atmosphere in Westminster is nothing short of electrifying. The no-confidence vote against Keir Starmer has become the defining moment of his political career, a moment that will decide whether he continues as Labour leader or joins the long list of fallen leaders consumed by rebellion and betrayal. As MPs gather for the vote, the tension is unbearable, crackling through the air like electricity before a storm. Every whisper, every exchange of glances, and every nod in the corridors of Parliament carries with it the weight of history being made in real time. The fate of Starmer's leadership now rests in the hands of those who once stood shoulder to shoulder with him, campaigning on his promises of renewal and stability, but who now question his every move and doubt his every word. This is not just a vote on policy or political strategy. It is a vote on his credibility, his character, and his ability to lead a fractured party through one of its most perilous chapters. The drama intensifies as numbers begin to circulate through Westminster's rumour mill. Early reports suggest that Starmer may not have the overwhelming support he once assumed, or that his team publicly claims. Key backbenchers who had been silent until now have suddenly turned against him, citing his betrayal of Brexit promises and his inability to deliver unity within the Labour ranks. The opposition seizes on these divisions with savage glee, with rival party leaders declaring that Britain cannot afford a leader who has lost the confidence of his own MPs. The message is clear and devastating. If his own party doesn't trust him, why should the country? Outside Parliament, crowds gather in growing numbers, some chanting for Starmer to resign immediately, others demanding an immediate general election to end the chaos once and for all. The noise grows louder by the minute, echoing through Westminster as though the entire nation has descended on the capital to witness this extraordinary showdown. Protesters wave banners accusing Starmer of betrayal. Brexit supporters demand accountability. Labour activists argue with each other about the party's future. The scene is chaotic, angry and unpredictable, a physical manifestation of the political crisis consuming the country. Inside the chamber, MPs take their seats with grim determination, knowing that their votes will shape the future of British politics.